Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders' decision to shut down quarterback JAYDEN Daniels for the rest of the season is a move that will reverberate far beyond the immediate standings and statistics, because it officially signals the beginning of what is arguably the most important offseason in recent team history. With 3 games left on the calendar, the Commanders are essentially in limbo, caught between the end of a disappointing season and the high-stakes preparation required to ensure a competitive future. JAYDEN Daniels, who has shown flashes of brilliance throughout the year, now enters a crucial period of recovery, using every practice rep and training session to come back stronger, faster, and smarter. For Daniels, this is not just about returning to health. It is about returning to a position where he can truly lead, and his development over the offseason could define not only his career trajectory, but also the entire direction of the Commanders franchise. While Daniels works to get back to full strength, the clock is simultaneously ticking for General Manager Adam Peters, whose decisions over the next several months may determine whether this team remains a middling squad or transforms into a contender. Peters has faced criticism for months, and now that Daniels is sidelined, the responsibility squarely rests on his shoulders to rectify past missteps and chart a course that balances immediate needs with long-term sustainability. Looking back, Peters probably has plenty of regrets when it comes to the previous offseason, particularly in the realm of free agency and roster construction. The choices to retain certain shaky players while failing to address glaring positional deficiencies now seem glaringly obvious in hindsight. With Daniels out for the remainder of the season, Peters' off-season clock officially starts now, and there is no room for hesitation or incremental steps. Every move he makes, from free agency signings to draft picks, will be scrutinized, because the team cannot afford another season of uncertainty, and the expectation is that he capitalizes on the resources available to him. Peters faces a delicate balancing act. He must evaluate which veterans are expendable, identify which young players deserve another chance, and ensure that the foundation being built around Daniels is capable of sustaining success over multiple seasons. In short, the upcoming months are about more than just talent acquisition. They are about constructing a culture and identity that has been missing from Washington football for far too long. The Commanders' roster heading into the offseason paints a stark picture of the work that needs to be done. With 22 players set to become unrestricted free agents, the team is staring at a substantial turnover, meaning that nearly a quarter of the roster could be replaced or reshaped entirely. Many of the current starters are aging veterans whose best days are behind them, while others are dealing with lingering injuries that could delay or prevent their availability for the start of next season. Players like Dorrance Armstrong, who have shown potential in flashes, are currently nursing injuries that may compromise their readiness, adding another layer of complexity to Peters' planning. Financially, the Commanders will have some breathing room under the salary cap, but they also find themselves constrained in terms of draft capital after trading away a second-round and fourth-round pick for offensive tackle Laramie Tunsil. This combination of factors means that Peters must be strategic and aggressive. He cannot simply rely on free agency signings alone, nor can he afford to gamble on unproven draft prospects without a clear plan for integration into the team system. On the offensive side of the ball, the situation is equally pressing. JAYDEN Daniels' talent and potential have been evident, but he has often been left in difficult positions due to a lack of support and complementary weapons. Injuries to key receivers like Terry McLaurin, who missed most of the offseason and the majority of the regular season, as well as reliance on players like Noah Brown to stay healthy as primary targets, have left Daniels without the consistency and reliability that a developing quarterback desperately needs. Even high-profile acquisitions, such as trading for Deebo Samuel, while well-intentioned, have not produced the level of impact that Peters and the team had hoped for to elevate Daniels' game. The Commanders must surround him with talent, depth, and versatility. This means pursuing not only proven free agents like Alec Pierce, but also targeting top-tier draft prospects such as Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, and Makai Lemon, all of whom represent real potential to transform the receiving course. Daniels' offseason will need to focus on refining his mechanics, improving decision-making under pressure, and expanding his understanding of the offense. But his development is inseparable from the roster improvements that Peters must orchestrate. Behind the scenes, the defense, however, is arguably the area of greatest concern for Peters and the Commanders' organization, from coaching staff to scheme to personnel. The defense has struggled across the board and currently ranks as one of the league's weakest units. Overhauling this side of the ball will require both vision and boldness. The first step is identifying and hiring a true defensive coordinator capable of implementing a modern, effective scheme that maximizes the strengths of the roster once in place. The new coordinator and Peters will need to evaluate the personnel in detail, pinpointing gaps and weaknesses that must be addressed in both free agency and the draft. The urgency of this work cannot be overstated. The offense has repeatedly been forced into catch-up mode, starting 7 of 14 games this season with double-digit deficits. Such situations place immense pressure on Daniels, limiting his ability to operate efficiently and forcing predictable play calling. A revitalized defense capable of generating turnovers, stopping opponents on critical downs, and controlling the clock will directly impact offensive productivity, giving Daniels the chance to execute without constantly playing from behind. For Peters, the challenge of revamping the roster is compounded by the need for a holistic approach. Improving the offense alone is insufficient if the defense continues to struggle, and upgrading the defense is meaningless without providing Daniels and the skilled players on offense the support necessary to convert opportunities into points. Each decision must be interconnected. Free agent acquisitions, draft selections, and even coaching hires must fit within a larger vision that prioritizes balance, efficiency, and long-term growth. Peters' ability to act decisively, identify undervalued talent, and construct a cohesive unit around Daniels will ultimately determine whether the Commanders can transition from a team that struggles to a team that competes at the highest levels. The margin for error is razor thin, and the upcoming offseason represents the single most critical period in shaping the future of Washington football. JAYDEN Daniels himself is at the center of this high-stakes equation. While he focuses on recovery, conditioning, and refining his skills, he will need to enter next season with a clear understanding of how to maximize his abilities in a more structured and supportive environment. The quarterback's development cannot be treated in isolation. It is inextricably linked to the personnel decisions made by Peters, the health of key teammates, and the strategic direction of the coaching staff. A fully equipped offense with reliable receivers, versatile running backs, and a line capable of protecting the quarterback will allow Daniels to elevate his game, demonstrate leadership, and make the playmaking decisions that can carry the Commanders to a new level. Meanwhile, the defense must evolve to create opportunities, take pressure off the offense, and establish a culture of accountability and resilience that has been lacking in recent seasons. The combined progress of both units will determine whether the offseason is a transformative success or simply another chapter in the team's ongoing struggles. In summary, the Commanders' season-ending decision for JAYDEN Daniels is much more than a temporary setback. It is the official start of a pivotal offseason for both the quarterback and general manager Adam Peters. Daniels now has the time to focus on recovery, refinement, and growth, while Peters is tasked with assembling a roster that can compete at a high level in 2019 and beyond. The challenges are clear. The defense must be rebuilt, the offensive weapons must be upgraded, draft capital and free agency must be leveraged strategically, and coaching must be aligned with the team's vision. Every decision carries weight, every move has consequences, and the spotlight is firmly on Peters to prove that the Commanders can emerge from this period not just improved but fundamentally stronger. The next few months will set the tone for Daniels' career, the franchise's trajectory, and the expectations of fans who have waited far too long for tangible progress. Success will require precision, boldness, and a willingness to address long-standing issues head-on. But if Peters and Daniels can navigate this offseason effectively, the Commanders could enter the next season as a team capable of contending, growing, and finally realizing the potential that has to often remain just out of reach. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. The noise around Washington has never felt this electric. And when I say electric, I mean the kind of tension you can almost hear crackling behind the microphones. JAYDEN Daniels finally broke his silence, and the way he did it felt less like a calm statement and more like a controlled explosion. This was not a polished press release tone, not the usual media-trained smile with safe words. It sounded raw, emotional, and calculated at the same time. Like someone who had been holding too much inside and decided that the moment had arrived to let the world know his side of the story. Round the building, sources whisper that the reaction was immediate, with stunned faces, hurried phone calls, and a sense that something fragile had just cracked. Fans woke up feeling like the ground under Washington football had shifted. Because when a player with that level of visibility speaks openly, it never stays contained for long. According to the growing rumors, Jayden's revelation was not just about frustration on the field, but about a deeper disconnect that has been simmering behind closed doors. The talk is that he feels unheard, misaligned, and at times even misled by the front office. People close to the situation suggest that promises were made in private conversations. Visions were painted about how the team would be built around him, how the culture would change, and how his voice would matter, what he hinted at, without naming names. Was that those visions slowly faded, replaced by decisions that felt rushed, contradictory, and disconnected from what he believed was best for his development, and for the locker room as a whole? When he said he had been forced to adapt instead of being supported, it landed like a heavy punch to the chest of the organization. Inside the Commanders' locker room, the mood is described as tense but not chaotic. Some players reportedly nodded quietly when the comments surfaced, others stayed silent, choosing to observe rather than react. That silence, according to insiders, might be the loudest message of all. It feeds the speculation that Jayden is not alone in his frustration. Even if he is the only one bold enough to put his feelings into words, there is a sense that the divide is not just player versus management, but philosophy versus reality. Players want clarity, stability, and trust, while the front office appears, at least from this perspective, to be caught between long-term planning and short-term pressure, making choices that feel inconsistent and reactive. What really shook Washington was the emotional tone behind Jayden's words. He did not sound like someone looking to escape responsibility or shift blame. Instead, he sounded like someone who wanted accountability on all sides. He spoke about preparation, communication, and respect, words that carry weight when spoken in that context. Rumors suggest that he felt certain internal discussions were handled poorly, with mixed messages delivered through intermediaries rather than face-to-face conversations. In a league where trust is currency, that kind of breakdown can be devastating. When a quarterback feels uncertain about the direction of the team, every snap, every read, and every decision becomes heavier. Because doubt creeps in where confidence should live. The front office response, or the lack of a strong one, only fueled the fire. From what is being whispered, there was an attempt to downplay the situation, to frame it as passion being misinterpreted, but fans are not buying it, and neither are many analysts watching from afar. In the world of football storytelling, perception becomes reality very quickly. When a young leader speaks about feeling disconnected, and the organization answers with carefully vague statements, it creates an image of avoidance rather than resolution. That image spreads fast, especially in a market starved for stability and authenticity after years of turbulence. Speculation is now running wild about what this means for the future. Some believe this could be the start of a power struggle, a moment where the franchise must choose between doubling down on its current leadership structure or reshaping itself around the voice of its most important player. Others whisper about long-term consequences, about how moments like this linger and influence decisions far beyond the immediate aftermath. Jayden's camp, according to the rumors, is not seeking drama for the sake of drama. The goal, allegedly, is change, real change in communication, in planning, and in respect, but change in professional sports rarely comes without friction. What makes this situation even more fascinating is the timing. Washington is at a crossroads, trying to redefine its identity, trying to convince fans that the past no longer defines the future. In that context, Jayden's comments feel like both a warning and an opportunity, a warning that old habits might still be alive behind the scenes, and an opportunity to confront them before they harden into permanent scars. Longtime observers say this is the kind of moment that reveals what an organization truly is. Do they listen, adapt, and grow, or do they protect themselves and hope the storm passes? As a YouTuber watching this unfold, you can almost feel the story writing itself in real time. Every glance on the sideline, every press conference answer, every subtle social media move now carries extra meaning. Fans dissect tone, body language, and silence, looking for clues. Jayden Daniels has shifted the conversation from playbooks and schemes to trust and alignment. That is a dangerous but necessary shift if Washington wants to move forward. Whether this turns into reconciliation or deepens into an open rift remains unknown. But one thing is certain. The silence is gone, the curtain has been pulled back, and the commanders are now forced to confront questions they can no longer avoid. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the commanders' news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the commanders.